Global warming could mean fewer fish for sport fishing, more die-offs across U.S. Global warming is putting lake fish in hot water, with worrisome possibilities for many species, as well as nation's fishermen and the $115 billion sport fishing industry that employs as many as 820,000 people. A study published in a journal Monday found at least 100 fish die-offs in Wisconsin between 2004 and 2014 are strongly linked with warmer summer temperatures fueled by climate change. Already, and it's only going to get worse if humans don't act. 8 die-offs in Wisconsin's lakes are expected to double by mid-century and quadruple by 2100, and there could be significantly more fish die-offs as global temperatures increase. The concern extends far beyond Wisconsin. Scientists and it supports 22,000 jobs in our state. We're talking about it. Wisconsin is a bellwether state because it's the third most popular destination for anglers to travel to, according to the Sport Fishing Association, after Florida and Michigan. Sport fishing is the Wisconsin findings are based on a particularly rich data set that's been collected by the state over many years. It was analyzed. The researchers' findings match the state's, said Alexander Latska, a fisheries biologist with Wisconsin's Department of Natural Resources. There's no question that fisheries are changing relatively rapidly, he said. The study's findings let researchers connect the dots between warming lakes and the occurrence of damaging fish die-offs, said Ripple. What we're really documenting here is how climate change is going to affect the composition of ecosystems, how populations can go away and how species can die, said Ripple. The researchers looked at a database of 502 freshwater fish die-offs in Wisconsin lakes between 2004 and 2014 and compared them with local water temperatures. They initially thought, but science often surprises you, said Ripple. They instead found that summertime fish kills were increasing. The median surface temperature during die-offs was 786 degrees Fahrenheit, 12% higher than during periods when summer fish kills didn't occur. And the number of fish die-offs used in the study is actually probably an underestimate, said Latska. We can't staff our 15,000 lakes, so it's really dependent on the public reporting them, he said. Of the popular sporty fish in the area, walleye, a cool water species, died at higher rates than a largemouth bass, which is a warmer water species. In fact, a report by the U.S. Geological Survey released in 2016 found that rising temperatures could mean that by the end of the century many lakes in Wisconsin will be more suitable for largemouth bass. Of course, fish can be restocked each year, so even lakes that no longer can support a naturally reproducing population of fish can be available to fishermen. But it will cost. Raising fish in hatcheries is expensive. A 4-inch walleye, whatever the reason for the shift, stocking costs are always a concern, he said. State agencies are not necessarily flush with funds. They might not be. Other species are also a concern. In fact, one is cisco, sometimes called lake herring. While not as cold water species like cisco were involved in 6% of the die-offs analyzed by the researchers. In some southern lakes, Wisconsin is actively trying to build resilience to warming in its lakes. One way of doing that, we don't have much control over the water temperature going up, but we can create habitats that might help in light of that change, said Faye. This isn't just happening in lakes. Wisconsin is it's also occurring in other states. Research at the University of Minnesota Duluth's Large Lakes Observatory found that Lake Superior surface water temperatures increased 4.5 degrees between 1979 and 2006. This has extended the days with optimal water temperatures for some species but decreased them for others. Researchers at the over time, say the researchers, Some species won't do as well as lakes' ecological systems, reconditioned to favor species that are more resilient to warmer temperatures. The shift is already occurring. An increasing number. There's a lake in Minnesota called Mille Lacs, which has historically been regarded as one of the best walleye fisheries in the country. It now has this boom. Mille Lacs, Riepel said, is a poster child for the future. This article originally appeared on USA Today. Search for location/city.
Raindrop, drop top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park pot.